So this is revision of entire chapter 4. So we know that the name of this chapter is the Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Sannyasa means leaving. Karma Sannyasa means leaving the action. Jnana Karma Sannyasa means leaving the action through the knowledge. So this is the focus of this chapter, and the main shloka comes in shloka number 18. So we're just going to revise very quickly. So here Krishna starts off and he starts to talk about the mahima of the jnana and how the jnana was being passed and the Guru Shishya Parampara. So the first three shlokas are about that. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshvakave Bravit. So he says, Krishna says, Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam. So this yoga have taught it to the sun god. And then the sun god, in turn, he taught it to Manu, the original man, the first man. And then Manu taught it to Ikshvaku, who was the king of the Solar dynasty. And in this way, this jnana was being passed. So that was the first shloka. Shloka number 2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaf parantapa. So here he says this yoga was being passed down in continuous tradition. Yes, evam parampara praptam. That is in continuous tradition. Parampara, it was received. Praptam Rajarshayo Viduhu. So it was received by these Raja Rishis, who we saw were like the Rajas, the kings, who were also pious. So they were called Raja Rishis. So they, or you can take it as Rajas and Rishis. So this tradition was being passed. But because of time, you know what happened? Sakale Neha Mahata. So because of the passage of the time, what happened? This jnana who got lost. So that is this shloka number 2. Shloka number 3. Saye vayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanah bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. So he says here, Sayevayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanah. So he says the same ancient yoga that I am talking about, which is the very supreme secret. Today I am going to tell it to you. You know why? Because of two reasons. That is because you are my friend and also you are my devotee. Remember, he had surrendered. Arjuna in chapter 2, he had surrendered. So he was like, I do not know what I have to do, so I surrender. So that was being a devotee. And he is also a friend. He truly loves Krishna. So because of those two reasons, he will be getting the secret from Krishna. So shloka number 4. Arjuna vacha aparam bhavato janma paranjanma vivasvatah khatame tadvijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti. So here Arjuna gets a doubt. So he said, Krishna, you said that you are the one who was passing on this jnana to even the sun god initially. But you are now in my time. So how am I to understand that you taught this to the sun god? So aparam bhavato janma. So you are later now in janma compared to Vivaswan. Then katametat vijaniya. How am I to understand that you taught in the beginning of this creation? So that is shloka number 4. Shloka number 5. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tava charjuna Tanyaham veda sarvani Natvam vetha parantapa. Bhagavan Vacha. So Krishna says, Bahuni me vyatitani. So many births have passed for you and for me. Janmani tava charjuna. For me and for you. Tanyaham veda sarvani. See, I know everything. I know all the births. I remember all the births. But you do not. Natvam veta parantapa. That is, you do not remember all the births. That is why, like you also had many births, I have had many avatars. But the difference between the both of us is that I know, but you do not know. We forget our past lives. So that is shloka number 5. From shloka number 5 to 8, he is going to talk about that avatara tattva. And then we said he is going to talk in two terms, the dharma drishti and the karma drishti. So in terms of the karma drishti, what happens is the avatars do not come forth because of their past karmas, but we come forward because of our punyas and papas, and we take the body because of our vyashti and the samashti karma, the collective karma and our individual karma, both together we take birth. So it's not the same for avatara. And he is also going to talk about the dharma drishti, where he is going to say, why am I manifesting myself, is because of the decline in righteousness. So when that happens, I will, every yuga, I will, or whenever it is needed, I will be born. So shloka number 6. Ajo pisannau vyayatma bhutanam ishvaro pisann prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. So he says here, although I am the Lord of all living entities, ajopi sannau vyayatma, I am the imperishable, and bhutanam ishvaropi san, I am the Ishvara of all, or the Lord of all the beings. Prakritim swamadhisthaya. What happens? I sambhavami atma mayaya. Because of my yogic power, I come forward. Not like us, because of karma we come forward. Because of my own yogic power, I come forward. So for him, the Maya is under his control. But for us, we are under the control of Maya. So this is the difference between the avatara and the normal human beings. Shloka number 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य tadatmanam srujamyaham. So here he is talking about the dharma drishti. He says here, whenever there is a decline in righteousness and there is an increase in the unrighteousness, and then at that time I will manifest myself on this earth. So when there is a decrease in the righteousness, I will come to the earth. And then shloka number 8 also is a continuation of how he actually sustains this righteousness. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstaphanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So what happens is, how do I protect the dharma? Is by protecting the people who follow the dharma, and by annihilating the people who do not follow the dharma. That is how when I come to this earth to protect the dharma, I do it. So that was shloka 8. Shloka 9. Janma karma cha me divyam evayo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. So here he says, first line it talks about the jnana. Janma karma cha me divyam. That is, he says that people who know that my janma and my karma are divine, evam yo veti tattvataha. So these people are the ones who know the truth. So he's talking about the jnana. So it is, you know the nature of God. That means what happens? The second line he's talking about the moksha, where he says tyaktva deham punarjanma. Tyaktva deham. That means if you are giving up your body, punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. That means the next janma, punarjanma, does not happen. So he gets the moksha. So why is he saying this? He's saying this, he's coming into the topic of the Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And he wants to say that people who know God will know their nature of themselves, or vice versa. Who know the nature of the self will also know God, because both are one and the same. So that topic he wants to get into. So this is the shloka. Shloka number 10. Vitaraga bhaya krodhaha Manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa utamadbhavamagataha. So here he is talking about some sadhanas. Now in shloka number 10 onwards, he will talk about some sadhanas up to shloka number 15, where he says that the person who is going in this path, how he should be. First step is Vitaraga Bhaya Krodhaha. Vita means he should get rid of Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. So this Raga, Bhaya, Krodha will always be repeated. Second chapter also it was there. This Raga, Bhaya and Krodha is the first basis that people have to remove to purify their mind. Then the second thing is Mamupashritaha. They have to take refuge in me. And they have to be absorbed in me. That is, they have to do bhakti. And then the third stage is Jnana Tapasa. So they have to do the Shravanam, Mananam, and the Nididhyasanam, and they have to get the knowledge and then go to moksha. So this is the process he's talking about. Shloka number 11. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tamstathaiva bhajamyaham mama vatmanu vartante manushyav partha sarvashah. Ye yata mam prapadyante. So he says, the question is, then why people are not seeking moksha? So he says, however way they surrender to me, then I reciprocate in the same way. If they are asking for material things, I give them material things. If they are going to ask me moksha, I will give them moksha. But people are not asking me moksha. That's the problem. So whatever you ask, I will give you. That is the first sentence. And then he says, Mama Vatmanu Vartante. Mama Vatmanu Vartante meaning, actually people are following my path only. All the paths are my path only. What are you seeking? You are seeking happiness. And happiness is only related to self-realization. The eternal bliss of the happiness is from the self-realization. It is not from these small pleasures that we experience intermittently. So they want happiness, but they don't know that the means is realization. So every day actually they are going towards me only without knowing. So Mama Vatmanu Vartante, Manushyaha Partha Sarvashaha. Even the people who are like the sinners and the asuras and all those people, actually they do not know, but finally either they will come in the good path or they will be annihilated by me, and then they will get to the good heights. So that is shloka number 11. Shloka number 12. Kangshantah karmanam siddhim yajantaiha devataha kshipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. So here important question is, okay, people are not asking for moksha. Why? Because of many reasons. That is, they want quick results, everything fast food. So you don't want to cook for a long time. You want to go and eat fast in 3 minutes, right? So the same thing continues. So if you want quick results, you will worship the gods, you will do puja and you ask for some benefits, and that will continue and you will never get out of this. So kshipram hi manushe loke. So kshipram meaning it comes quickly, this result. So that is one thing. And then the other thing we talked about was also it is a very difficult process. That is, you really have to strive a lot in this path, because you need a lot of qualifications like viveka, vairagya, all that, that is very difficult to build. You can just go and do puja for some time is much easier. But coming into this Vedanta, coming into this path of self-realization and keeping at it is very difficult. And also, if the jnana is given to some person, they don't want to take it. They want only like material things. Saw the example of like a lady who lost the son. And then Buddha said, go find the mustard seeds from a place where there has been no death. And she couldn't find any house where there was no death. So when he taught, it was very difficult for her to take. Oh, I want my son back. So that is what people will keep asking rather than the ultimate goal. So that was shloka number 12. Then shloka number 13. Chatur varnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaram api mam vidhya kartaram avyayam. So in this shloka, important shloka 13, where he will talk about two different things actually. The second line, he basically wants to come into the topic of the jnana karma sannyasa. So that is what he tells in the second line. But in the first line, he says, Chatur varnyam maya srishtam. So the 4 categories of people I have created based on what? Guna karma vibhagashaha. I have created based on their gunas, and I have created based on their karmas. I have not created based on their jati, which is the birth. So this emphasis only these two things. So guna, we saw that the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra is based on Brahmana having the highest sattva, Kshatriya having rajas higher and the sattva is the middle. But Vaishya will have the rajas as the higher and the tamas as the middle. And then the Shudra will have the tamas as highest. So based on the gunas only, it's been classified like this. So you are a guna brahmana if you have sattva as the highest, and you can always develop. And also based on the occupation, where the brahmanas will teach religious things, the kshatriyas will protect the country, the vaishyas will do agriculture and trade, and shudras will do the physical work. So based on that, these classifications has come, he is saying. And then tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. So then suddenly he says, oh, even though I am the creator of these things, I am not the doer of anything. So what does that mean? He says that I am above activity. Look at me. I keep doing. I am the creator, but I have to do so many things. Well, in the third chapter also he said, if people will follow my path, so because of that, I cannot even take a break. So I keep working. So you follow my path, he said. So similarly, here he says, I do the work still. I am not tainted by work. How? Because of the jnana karma sannyasa. I am not attached to the work. I think the Atman is different from the Anatma. It is different from whatever is doing the work. So that is the concept of this jnana karma sannyasa, and that is what he is saying here. Then shloka number 14. Namang karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mayo bhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. So he says, activities do not taint me, nor do I desire the fruits of the action. Namang karmani limpanti, does not taint me. Name karma phale spruha iti mayo bhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. So if you know this, you will not ask for the fruits of the action, and you will know that whatever is doing the action is separate from me. The entity called I is different from the one who is doing this work. When you know these two things, then you will also be free like I am free. Shloka number 50. Evam yatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvaih purvatarankritam. So here he says, what happened is the seekers of liberation in ancient times also they performed the actions. Evam jnatva, they knew the secret, and then they performed the actions accordingly. Therefore, kuru karmaiva tasmatvam, you also do your activities. Purvaihi purvatarankritam. Purvaihi means the ancient sages, like how they perform, knowing what is to be done and who is doing the work. When you know that, and when you are not attached to the fruits, then the same way how they did, you also do your actions. Shloka number 16. King karma kima karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. So here he is coming into the topic. This is introduction to the jnana karma sannyasa, where he says king karma kima karmeti. What is karma? What is akarma? What is inaction? Nobody knows. Kavayo pyatra mohitaha. Kavayaha, that is the learned people, people who have mastered the Vedas, those kind of pandits. They also do not know the meaning of what is action and inaction. Tatte karma pravakshyami. I will tell you what is the action. Yajna atva moksha se ashubhat. So knowing which you will be freed from the ashubhat or the inauspiciousness. And shloka number 70. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Here he says that you should know what is the recommended action, karmanaha or karma, and then you should also know about vikarma or the forbidden action, also known as nishiddha karma, and then akarmanaha. So akarmanaha meaning in this instance it is inaction, that is action which doesn't non-binding karma is the inaction that he is talking about here, and he is going to get into the shloka 18 with that. So shloka number 18, very important shloka, one of the most important shlokas in this chapter. Karmanya karma yah pashyet akarmani cha karma yah sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayuktah kritsna karma krit. So here we saw a lot of explanation, but if we see what is the condensed explanation, those who see the karmani, that is in action, akarma. In the action, you see inaction. That means what is he talking about? In the supposed action or the perceived action of the Atma, you think that whatever this I am doing work, this I actually should point to the Atma. In the perceiving that the Atma is doing work, it actually doesn't do any work. And karmani akarma yah pashyet akarmani cha karma yaha. So in the inaction, you see the action. That means what? In the supposed or the perceived inaction of the body or the mind, like you think that, oh, the body is resting now, or the mind is not thinking about anything, just see the action, because it will spring into action, because the Atma can never do action and the Anatma will always do action. It will take rests in between, but it will always be acting. So these are the only two things that is actually being said. So know that this Atma never acts, and don't attribute any action to this Atma, and know that this Anatma always acts, and all the action attributed to the Anatma, but separate both the Atma and the Anatma. Know that the I is the Atma. When you know that, then you are relieved of all the bondage. That is the realization you have to come to. So then the action does not bind you. So this is jnana karma sannyasa. You are not physically leaving any action. You are still continuing all the action, but through knowledge, you have renounced this action. So sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krita. So buddhiman manushyeshu, he is the most intelligent among all the human beings. Sayukta, he is kritsna karma krit. That is, he has performed all actions. There is no to-do list for him. He has just completed everything. There is no agenda for him. There is no plans for him. Nothing is there, because he has detached himself from the entity which is doing the work. If he does work also, it's fine. If he doesn't work also, it is fine. He is not compelled to be in whichever way. And then shloka number 19. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni karmanam tamahuh panditam buddhaha. So the enlightened sages, yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha. So what do? Without the desire for the material pleasures, kama sankalpa, and without having the resolve, all their undertakings will be in such a way that they do not have the desire for these material objects. Sankalpa varjitaha, the devoid of this. Jnanagni dagdha karmanam. In this divine knowledge, of which divine knowledge? Of the jnana karma sannyasa, that I am separate and this entity is just doing the work is separate, that because of that knowledge, karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. So all their karma or the karma phalas are burnt because of this knowledge they have. And then the wise people also call these people as the sage, because they know the way to burn their karma phala, which is the cause of bondage. Shloka number 20. त्यक्त्वा कर्मफला संगम नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किंचित् करोति सः. So here in shlokas number 20, 21, 22, 23, 4 shlokas, he is going to talk about two types of jnanis, because we have to pay a little bit attention here, because it is going to be carried forward in the next chapter where we learn about sannyasa. So what happens is, there are the brahmacharis, and then there are the householders who have married life, they have children, And then what happens is you are continuing in this path, and then suddenly you get the jnana when you are a householder. But because of circumstances and because of your duties, you are not able to leave everything and take sannyasa. So he is going to talk about this jnani in the pravritti or the householder lifestyle. So in this shloka he is talking about that. In the next shloka he will talk about the sannyasi who has left, abandoned everything physically, and he is gone in the nivritti marga or the sannyasa marga. So in this he says, what are the qualities of the person who is a jnani who is in the householder lifestyle? So what does he do? Tyaktva karma phala sangam. So he has given up the fruits of action. How he got the jnana? By doing karma yoga. What was karma yoga? Giving up the fruits of action. So he is well versed in that, right? So he doesn't have any attachment to the fruits of action. And tripta, he is always satisfied. He is not expecting anything from anything or anybody. And nirashraya, he is not dependent on objects to give him happiness. So he is karma pala asangam and then triptaha nirashrayah karmanya abhipravrittopi. So this person obviously will be engaged in activities. So abhipravrittaha, he is engaged in all the activities. Naiva kinchit karoti saha. He doesn't do a single thing. Even though he has all the work, all the things he is doing for his family, for his kids and everything, he is not attached only because of the fact that he does not have attachment to the fruit of action. And he is dwelling in himself and he is triptaha and is not dependent on anything. And then shloka number 21. Nirashiryata chittatma त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्. So in this shloka he is talking about the jnani in the nivritti marga. So both are jnanis only, but this person is a sannyasi and he is a jnani. Okay, so you should not confuse that all sannyasis are not jnanis. This person is talking about is a jnani in the sannyasi marga. How does he behave? He is nirashihi. He is free from expectations because he doesn't even have expectations for food. If they give food, he will eat. If they don't give food, he will not eat. Nirashihi. Yata chittatma. His mind and intellect are fully controlled. The shamaha and the damaha, he has practiced. So he has self-control. Tyakta sarva parigraha. He doesn't have any sense of ownership because that's how sannyasis live. They do not have anything to own. And then Shariram Kevalam Karma. Here Shankaracharya says he doesn't even he only takes basic things for his body to survive, or he does not even have attachment to protecting his body. And he leaves it to God. God, if you want, you protect my body. Like that he will say and he will live. Shariram kevalam karma kurvannapnoti kilbisham. So this person will never incur any sin. So this person is not bonded at all. So this is shloka number 21. Then shloka number 22. Again he is going to talk about the jnani in the sannyasi marga. Yadrichalabha santushtaha dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhava siddhaucha Kritva pina nibadhyate. So what does he do? Yadricha labha santushtaha. Whatever comes out of his own accord, whether it be the gain, he is okay. Loss or gain, he is okay. Dvandva atitaha. He has surpassed the dualities. He has come from the karma yoga. He has done karma yoga in some shape or form. So he has surpassed all the dualities. That the pain, the happiness, the delight, everything is the same for him. And Vimatsaraha, he is free from envy. And Samasiddha Siddhaucha. So in success also he is the same. He does not jump. And in failure also he is not totally dejected. He continues to function normally. Kritva pinani badhyate. So this person also is not bound. So these are the qualities we have to imbibe. The Jnani, the Nivritti Marga, 22. So 23, again he is going back to the Jnani in the Pravritti Marga or the householder lifestyle. Gata Sangasya Muktasya Jnanavasthita chetasah yajñāyācharatah karma samagram praviliyate. So here he says, what does he do? Gata sangasya muktasya. So same thing again, free from material attachment. Muktasya, he is liberated from the raga and the dvesha, which was the cause of the bondage, because the likes and the dislikes, I like this, I love to eat this, I hate to eat this, I hate this person, I love this person. This is causing bondage. So he is free from the raga and the dvesha. Jnana vasitaha chetasaha. So he is always absorbed in the jnana. So after he is past the karma yoga stage, he has realized the jnana and he is absorbed in the jnana. He is always in the contemplation. Yajñāya charatah karma. He is doing the karma for the sake of God alone, like how you will do in karma yoga. And it accepts everything as God's prasada, be it good or bad. That is karma yoga. Whether something is showered on you, thank you God. Whether somebody spits on your face, thank you God. So that way of living is karma yoga, and he has mastered this karma yoga. Accepts everything as a prasada of God. So these are his qualities. Samagram praviliyate. So this person also is being free. He is not bonded. Then sloka number 24. Brahmarpanam brahma havihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. Brahmarpanam. So here what we talked about is the karaka buddhi, or the sense of the way we look at things is, I am the doer, I am giving this object to this person. So when we see everybody as disjointed, then we have this Dvaita Buddhi, or we see everything as separate. But we have to see everything as one, as this Brahman itself. So people who have realized will know that they are the Brahman, what they are wearing is the Brahman, what they have in the hand is the Brahman, what they are giving to the other person is the Brahman, that person is also the Brahman. That kind of inner feeling they will have. It's not as though in the transactional world they will call you Brahman or I am Brahman, but they will have the inner knowing that everything is the Brahman and it is a manifestation of the Brahman. So what the sloka is trying to say is, just think that everything is a Brahman. Brahma Arpanam, the ladle is a Brahman. Brahma Havihi, the oblation is a Brahman. Brahma Agno, the sacrificial fire is a Brahman. And the person who is offering, Brahma Eva Tena Gantavya. So whatever is he is offering is the Brahman, whatever is attained is a Brahman. Everything is a Brahman. These are the people who are completely absorbed in the consciousness, the Brahman. So that is how they look at things, and not, they don't look at things as separate, because we looked at this karaka buddhi. We talked about it, that kriya, there is an action, karakam is the cause of the action, and palam is the result of the action. So this is how Adi Shankaracharya describes this whole jagat or the world, that there is an action, there is a cause of action, and there is a result of action. This is very important shloka. Daivameva pare yajñam yoginah paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati. So here we saw that in shlokas 25 to 30, Krishna gives a set of activities or a set of sadhanas, and he is going to talk about 12 such sadhanas, where one will be the Brahma Jnana Yajna itself. That is we are talking about two things, that the Jnanam Sadhanam, the Atma Jnana, which will give the moksha, and the Jnanaya Sadhana. So the 11 other sadhanas or the practices you will do to get to the point of getting the Jnana. So the 11 plus 1, and then you will go to moksha. So first he is talking about Devameva pare yajñaham yoginah paryupasate. So he is talking about the Deva Yajna, where everything he is going to look in the concept of a yajna, because the yajna was prevalent in those times. he is going to give it in the concept of a yajna as to what is being offered and what is the fire, what is it consuming. So in that thing he describes it, and he says that the persons who perform the Deva Yajna, they are performing it to the gods. The Havis is the Havis itself. That is, they will give some offering. They will give some rice or whatever. They will put it in the Agni, in the fire, in name of that god. So first is a Deva Yajna. And then he talks about Brahmagna Vapare Yajnam Yajna Nevopa Juhvati. So here he says that in this fire, one offers into the fire just himself. Himself meaning the Jivatma is being offered to the Paramatma. So the Havis is the Jivatma and the Agni is the Paramatma. 26. श्रोत्रादीनीन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्ये indriyagnishu juhvati. So here he is going to talk about two yajnas. The first line he is talking about the Dhamma yajna. Dhamma yajna, as we know, is the sense control. And then the next line he is talking about the Vishaya Grahana yajna. Shotradini, such as the hearing process. What you do is you control the input, the bad input, and you say that, okay, I do not want to listen to these things. Like that, when you say, that is called the Dhamma Yajna. But what is the Vishaya Grahana Yajna? Is being selective about the good things that you want to take in. So he is talking about what will go into the ears itself, like Shabdadini. So all the sounds itself, and you can put the good sounds into your ears, for example. So first is talking about the input from your senses going into the mind, and the second is talking about the selectiveness and what sounds and what things you see putting it into your senses itself. So this is a difference between Dhamma Yajna and Vishaya Grahana Yajna. So people do that. Okay, they stop doing bad things and they start doing the good things in terms of their senses. That is 26. 27. So what was the Havis is the Indriyas and the Agni is the control. So you are trying to control, and this is the Dhamma Yajna. And Vishaya Grahana Yajna is the Vishaya, like the sounds, the objects of sight, etc. And then again, the Agni is actually the Indriyas because it's going into the Indriyas. So that is the Agni. So shloka number 27. Sarvani Indriya Karmani Prana Karmani Chapare Atma Sanyama Yogagno Juhvati Jnana Deepite. So here he is talking about the Shama Yajna or the mind control. So what he is saying here is that the mind is getting inputs from the senses. So you try to control those inputs, and also whatever was could not be caught there at that point, the mind has to take it out. And the another problem, the mind is the input also coming from the vasanas. So two types of inputs are there which you have to control. That's why mind control is very important, because external and internal, from your previous janma, from your past births, your vasanas, that is also coming into the mind when you make decisions. So these two have to be controlled, and we have to be aware of these things. And basically it says vivekam, things like knowing what is good, what is wrong, where the intellect will act and say, okay, this is right, this is wrong. So that is another filter. What is the Havis is the senses, and the prana also they are telling, because prana also they've included, because karmendriyas function because of the prana. So they have included the prana also as the Havis, the senses and the prana, and the Agni is the control, mind control. So shloka number 28. Dravya yajnastapo yajnaha yoga yajnastatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yatayas samshitavrataha. So here he is talking about 5 yajnas. One is the Dravya Yajna, that is the things which is materially done as sacrifice, like charity, etc. Tapo Yajna, that is doing the austerities, and you are trying to stop your self-indulgence. Yoga Yajna, so we talked about the Ashtanga Yoga. practice. So that yoga also people take it up as a practice to purify themselves and to evolve themselves. And then swadhyaya, so it's to read the scriptures and the self study of the scriptures. And jnana yajna, jnana yajna is the ancillary studies, and also artha grahana, that is to know the meaning of what you studied in the swadhyaya and all the scriptures, is also classified as jnana yajna, which will help you to understand, get to the point of jnana itself. So it is shloka number 28. In all this, the dravya yajna, the havis is the charity of the items. It can even be your knowledge, wisdom, and the agni is the receiver. Tapo yajna is the havis is the indulgence, and the agni is the will or the control. Yoga yajna is havis is the yoga practices, and the agni is the control. Swadhyaya yajna, so reading of the scriptures, chanting, etc., is the havis, and agni is the practice. And jnana yajna, so all this artha grahanam, knowing the meanings, that is the purpose there, and the agni is the practice. Then he is going to talk about in the next shloka about the pranayama. Apane juhvati pranam, prane panan tatha pare, pranapanagati rudhva, pranayama parayanah. So he is talking about the pranayama yajna, where he talks about the three types of practices. The puraka means you are putting your control in the in-breath. And then the rechaka means the control is in the out-breath, and kumbhaka means you're holding both the in-breath and the out-breath. So this we looked at it in the detail. And so basically the havis is the breath and the agni is the control. So whenever you are doing that, it is called the pranayama yajna. 30. Apare niyataharaha प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वे पेते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः. So here he talks about the ahara niyama yajna, and where the food control is important, and the cleansing actually happens because the type of food, it determines, like the annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, you go into the different layers. So it is going to purify your air and then subsequently your mind and so on. So that is how we believe in, we think about food. We don't think about food like just a physical entity. We think about food as a mind purifying mechanism. So that is why that we have to eat the sattvic food to purify our mind. So that control people do by not overeating, like we talked about the 3 times. Parimitam, limited amount of food. Hitam, eating the foods that are good. Amedyam, eating the fresh. Because of this, your mind is also getting purified. So this people will follow, and here havis is the food and the agni is the control. So that is shloka number 30. So here he finishes all the sadhanas. And then in 31, he is going to talk about the consequences of following the yajnas and not following the yajnas. So, shloka number 31. Yajna shishtamrita bhujah yanti brahma sanatanam nayan lokostya yajnasya utonyah kuru sattama. So, here he says yajna shishta amrita bhujah. So those who take the remnants of such sacrifices, that is basically people who are putting themselves in some form of control. Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. So they will go to the eternal. Nayam Lokaha Asti Ayajnasya. So to the person who performs no sacrifice, here in this world also, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. Suppose you are working, you have to wake up in the morning and you have to go to work. You have to sacrifice your sleep. You have to have a family. You have to spend time with them. That is it. So in every activity, there will be some sacrifice. You don't know it, but if you look at it, every form of activity is a sacrifice. And it should be done in the spirit of the sacrifice. So like that, if a person is not willing to sacrifice anything, then how in this world also he can do anything? And then in the spiritual world also, he is not going to be able to progress. So the sacrifice is a basis of all kinds of in worldly life and in spiritual life. That is the important thing. So then that's what he is saying. How he can get happiness in any other way. Then shloka number 32. Evam bahuvidha yajnaha vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam nyatva vimokshase. So here he says, okay, I am talked so elaborately about all the sacrifices, but who is talking about it? It's not coming from me. I am just quoting from the Vedas. Vedas have like a lot of other yajnas also. So I'm saying this has come from the mouth of the Vedas itself. But just know one thing, that all this is only work. Karmajan vidhitan sarva. So it is only it is originating from karma, because why? All this is originating from the anatma part. So do not get attached to it. Like if you are practicing yoga, don't get attached to it, because you don't think this is the be all and end all of everything. It is just an instrument for you to progress spiritually. Everything in life is a means to progress spiritually. Like even money, we think it is the end all and be all of life. Actually, it's an instrument for us to live properly. We can spend time for spiritual activities. We can help others in charity. That is a purpose. It's an instrument, but we think it is the end and goal of life. Similarly, all these practices also for people can become the end and the goal. Like doing puja, they'll only do puja. They'll not progress after that. Doing yoga, they'll do only yoga. No, you have to keep progressing after that to the spiritual path. So you have to go in yoga, you have to go to samadhi stage. Just not stick just with asanas. Like that, you have to go, and don't get into ego that I am doing. There is also a possibility that doing all the 11 sadhanas, you get into ego. Oh, look at me. I'm so pious. I can sit and meditate. I can do this. I can do like that. Also, the ego will go against the grain of spirituality. So that is the pitfall of these other 11 things, because it is karmajan, it is born from karma. Then shloka number 33. Shreyan dravyamayad yajnat jnana yajnah parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So here she says, Shreyan Dravyam, this is also a very important shloka, shloka number 33. Shreyan Dravyamayat Yajnat. So superior to all these material things, or whatever the karmajan practices you're doing, born of this karma, Jnana Yajna Parantapa. Jnana Yajna, what I told you, the highest, the one Yajna I told you about the Jnana is the highest. Parantapa, Sarvam Karma Akhilam Partha. All this karma, all these practices you did, partha, jnane parisamapyate. It culminates only in this point. All the 11 paths, actually, if there's people say, oh, there are different paths. In Advaita, it has not been said in that way. It says everything will culminate at one point, which is the jnana. So everything here, what Krishna says is everything is going to culminate at this point, which is the jnana. And then shloka number 34. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadarshinaha. So how to get this jnana? He says that tadvidhi pranipatena. Approach this spiritual master. In your lifetime, don't just sit and while away your time going after all these material pursuits. Go and seek this master, or if you have a master, go and approach him. And pariprashnena, make humble inquiries about your spiritual development, not about your material development, not about your children, not about your properties, not about your losses and gains, but make the spiritual inquiry to that guru. Pariprashnena sevaya, render him service to a guru who is what? Upadekshanti te jnana. That guru will give you the knowledge. And what kind of guru he should be? The Uttama guru that we talked about. What will be his quality? Jnaninaha Tattvadarshinaha. Jnaninaha, he has learned the scriptures, he has learned from his guru, he has learned in the Guru Shishya Parampara, and he has learned step by step. So he will be able to guide you step by step. And Tattvadarshinaha, he has also seen the truth, he has realized the truth. So if the combination of this you get like a guru like that, the Uttama Guru, then you should make all efforts to progress in the spiritual development, or you should seek such a guru. So he will be able to tell you, okay, you are in this stage, now move to this stage. And then when the final moment comes, he will be able to speak from his own experience. Yajñātvāna punarmoham evaṁ yasyasi pandava yena bhūtānyasheshena drakṣasyātmanyatho mayi. Yajñātvāna punaha moham. So here he is going to talk about the what is the palan of getting the jnana. This first thing he is talking about the mohanasha. That is, what is he talking about? Moha means giving the wrong value to an object. Like when you give like uninflated value to something, that is called the moha. Oh, this is gold. That much value you are giving to it. That becomes your life and existence, getting the gold, acquiring it, preserving it. Like that, when you have so much of value for an unnecessary thing which you are never going to take away with you, all this is going to be left behind. You don't know who's taking it after your death. For that, you have given so much of your life, you have toiled day and night, you have woken up at 5 o'clock, you're gone, you've earned. And for the thing that is your spiritual development, there is no time or there is no inclination. So, like that, the Mohanasham is being talked about. And Yajñātva na punarmoham. So, he will not get this moham after he knows the truth. Evam yasasi pandava yena bhutanya sheshana dakshasyatmanyatho mai. That means what will happen when this person realizes that moham is gone? What is he going to realize? All these beings are me. I am the same as all these beings. Or he says, all these are me. Like you will realize that I am the same as the other person, or you will realize I am the same as God. All are the same. The basic component, the Atma, is the same. So you will realize that then you are Beda of this Jiva and Jiva, you are different, I am different, this competition, this comparison, all that will be diminished. And then the Jiva Ishvara Beda, also like it, I am not separate from God. My Atma and God, Brahman are the same. This is what you will realize. So this is 35. 36 is, he's talking about the Papa Nasha. Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vijinam santarishyasi. So he says that even if you are the worst of sinners, just assume you are not Arjuna, but even assuming, what will happen is this jnana will come like a boat and it will just take you through these waters of this papa that you may have accumulated. So everything is gone. You will cross this papa and there is papa nasham because you get the jnana. 37. Karma phalanasham he is talking about. Yatai dhansit samidhognihi bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagnis sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. So he says, just like how a fire would edhamsi samidaha agni, in the fire, how this firewood is going to be burned, in the similar way, all this accumulated this karma will be just burnt to ashes when you get this jnana. So mohanasham, papanasham, and karma phalanasham. Then shloka number 38. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha kalenatmani vindati. So here he says, there is nothing purifying as knowledge. Nahi jnanena sadisham pavitramiha vidyate. There is nothing purifying as knowledge. And one who has attained the purity of mind through practice. So purity of mind comes through practice. And kalenatmani vindati. So in course of time, he will get the knowledge. You purify your mind through karma yoga, bhakti, and so on. and you will get this knowledge in course of time, he says. He doesn't mention any specific amount of time. Then shloka number 39. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatpara sanyatendriyaha jnanam labdhva param shantim achirenadhigacchati. So here he gives the qualities of we saw that it is the antaranga sadhana. That bahiranga sadhana, we said it can be anything. Like, for example, I've invited people, they can come by walk, they can come by car, they can come in their bikes. That is up to you. Krishna says, all those 11 practices you practice, that is up to you. But antaranga sadhana, which is the inside sadhanas, all for everybody, it is common. What is it? Shraddhava. He should have faith. And not blind faith, as we said. He should have the faith and say, okay, this is the truth that is being told in the scriptures. I don't understand this point. I will try and understand it. That is the right faith. And tatparaha. So you should always have the fixation on the goal. And you should always think that what is my destiny? Like you should think at least 2-3 times in a day. What is the purpose of my life? You should just ask this question to yourself. What is the purpose of my life? Is it to earn money? Is it to have this retirement home? Whatever it may be. Is this the purpose of my life? You just keep asking that question and keep fixated on the goal. My purpose is maybe in this Janma I will progress a little bit spiritually, but let me at least progress a little bit, because my goal is the liberation. Like that, we should have the fixation on the goal. And samyatendriya, where he will, indriya control is not emphasized little. It is the main, it's the basis of spirituality if you want to go in Vedanta. So you have to have the control of the senses, control of the mind. Then only your mind will be drawn inwards. Otherwise, the mind will always be scattered. Where shall I go? What shall I eat? What shall I watch? Like that, the mind will be scattered. It will never go inside. So that is why this indriya control and this mind control, they're talking constantly, because that will form the basis of your spiritual ladder. So Shraddha Tatparaha, being committed to the goal also, and Samyatendriyaha is to have the control of the senses, which is very important. Okay. Then Shloka number 40. Agnyascha Shraddadhanascha Samshayatma Vinashyati Nayal Lokosti na Paraha Na Sukham Samshayatmanaha. So here he says Agnya, that is the ignorant person, Ashraddadana, without faith, and Samshayatma, the skeptical person. For all the 3 persons, he says you can be ignorant, you can even be without faith, but Samshayatma, don't be skeptical. Don't keep constantly doubting, because you cannot, if you doubt, even in this normal world, you can't keep doubting people. You have to trust people. You have to trust, oh, this company is going to do good to me, this person is good to me. Like that, you have to keep trusting. So like that, Krishna says the Samshayatma is the worst kind of person, and he will find it very difficult to rise, neither in this world, transactional world, or in the spiritual world. So then shloka number 41. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchhinna samshayam atmavantanna karmani nibadhyanti dhananjaya. So these are the 2 closing shlokas where he says that actions do not bind to those who have renounced all the actions through knowledge, and whose doubts have been dispelled by knowledge, and who are situated in the knowledge of the self. The yoga sanyasta karmana. So he has dedicated his body, mind, and soul in this purpose, okay, in this pursuit of this realization. Jnana sanchinna samshayam. So he has, by jnana, he has removed all his doubts, and atmavantam, he is situated in his self. So first he has done the practice, then he has realized the jnana, and then he is situated in that jnana. So then for him, Arjuna, no karma will bind him. So you have to get to jnana. And then 42. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hridstham jnanasinatmanah चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत. So he says tasmat, always he will end with therefore. Arjuna, what you have to do is you have to kill your ignorance. Hristam, now he is talking, it's not about the heart alone, the intellect also. Jnana sinatmanaha, so with the sword of knowledge just cut this ignorance. Okay, chitva, cut it. Yenam samshayam, cut this doubt, ignorance, etc. Atishto uttishta bharata. Atishta means take shelter. Take shelter in the jnana. Uttishta, Arjuna, get up. Bharata, Arjuna, you get up. So what is he telling here? Finally, he talked fully about jnana, but finally he is only ending in karma yoga. He's telling, come, get up, do your duty and fight the war. So this is the final, and he's going to continue the next chapter. So Arjuna will get one doubt. Okay, you talk about jnana, now then you talked about sannyasa, then he is going to ask questions about sannyasa, and we are going to see in the next chapter about karma sannyasa, about people who have taken sannyasa. So that it will start with the question from Arjuna. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Chaturthodhyayah.